At the same time, let's turn now to the political fortunes of President Biden. He appeared to be in a moment of at least crisis and shakiness after his disastrous debate performance. But Democratic insiders now believe that the attempted assassination on Donald Trump will cool the temperature and shift the story and attention away from those calls for Biden to step down. They now have a plan that they are standing down because of the, quote, fragile political moment. Let's take a listen to Face the Nation, where Bob Costa reports this.
I've been speaking with some top Democrats. They believe that those Democrats who have the concerns about President Biden are now standing down politically, will back President Biden because of this fragile political moment. All of that talk about the debate faded almost instantly among my top Democratic sources as this unfolded. Say it's time for the country to stick together, and that means Democrats sticking together as well.
Faded almost instantly, and it appears now that the Biden campaign wants to use the current political moment actually to extenuate Biden's at least alleged political strengths. We should not forget, though, that before that assassination, this was the attempted assassination. It was the biggest story in the country, and it was a moment of genuine crisis. In fact, the very day of the attempted assassination, President Biden had an insane, interaction with members of the House Democrats. Go and put this up there on the screen, and I'll read from this entire thing. So there's this, the New Democrats. It's a coalition on Capitol Hill. They decide to have a Zoom call with President Biden. So Biden apparently showed up late to the meeting. He then referred to a congressman who has a Bronze Star, quote, somewhat unintelligibly, and then pulled back before saying more. Sources were telling reporters that they were, quote, aghast, and they took it as deeply inappropriate. That was just the first of a crazy confrontation, basically insulting a congressman with a Bronze Star who was confronting him on his ability to continue running. Let's go to the next part here to just continue to look down a little bit. This was also a crazy moment, and literally out of something like Veep. During the Biden call with the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the president said that his staff passed him a note saying, "Stay positive, you are sounding defensive." Biden then read the note aloud, according to the participants that were actually on the phone call. So literally reading the note aloud, almost like some sort of Ron Burgundy situation. And in every one of these congressional meetings, like I'm pulling up the details, here in front of me, with moderate House Democrats, not only did that situation have with Jason Crow, but you had one lawmaker who said on the call, quote, "That was a complete disaster. We saw the same Joe Biden from the debate." Another lawmaker says it was awful. A third says members were not holding back. It got tense with Crow for sure. Crow was the person who told him that he should drop out of the race. At one point, two representatives grilled Biden on how he plans to turn his campaign around. In response, they asked Biden how you're going to win back disaffected voters. Biden said then that part of his plan was that members need to do a better job advertising his administration's accomplishments. So he told them, you're the problem, actually. You're the ones who need to go out there and you need to show what I have done for you. As another congressman highlighted his distressing polling numbers, Biden, quote, tried to interrupt, adding caveats with the congressman then having to interject to finish her question. Crow's question, the Bronze Star recipient, prompted what two members were described as shouting from Biden, who went off in a tangent, challenged that congressman to, quote, name me a foreign leader who thinks I'm not the most effective leader, as if any of them are going to talk to a random House Democrat. He says, tell me who the hell that is. Biden continued. He says that it was dead wrong, that foreign leaders didn't lack confidence in him. And he said, quote, I don't want to hear that crap. He then started continuing to shout at Jason Crow for no reason. Another source told Axios that Biden's answer stressed that the exchange ended then on a positive note, where Biden cut things off at the end and he said, if you're really getting input, then I'm not strong enough, and I'd like to know more detail because I want to deal with it. He then departed early from the call despite showing up late. He said, I need to go to mass. Then another one of the congressmen who actually said who was up next for wanting to have a question, he was cut off. His staff basically pulling Biden from the call, saying he has to go to mass, before they got to another congressman who said that he thinks that Biden should drop out of the race. That guy apparently was very unhappy that happened. So look, I mean, this is all crazy. And it's also very telling too that this was part of the new Democratic coalition, the quote-unquote moderates, not really people we would agree with much on this show, but to look to them and actually see that they apparently had a lot more courage in their confrontation with President Biden, as opposed to the so-called Congressional Progressive Caucus, which barely confronted him at all. That really does highlight kind of what the political dynamics here are, is that a lot of the people who have a lot on the line, maybe in terms of swing state Democrats and others, they are the ones who are paying most attention to this. But this does appear to have smoothed all that over. I will say the craziest part, though, is this reaction. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. A senior House Democrat is now saying behind the scenes, quote, "We have all resigned ourselves to a second Trump presidency." Now, keep in mind, senior House Democrat can only mean like 15, 20 people literally in leadership who are saying this literally on background. I mean, that's just stunning. And what they say here is that, quote, "Congressional Democrats' all-consuming angst over President Biden's candidacy has now taken an abrupt backseat in the midst of the wake of an assassination attempt against former President Trump. Democratic lawmakers say that their immediate focus now is on the personal security and that of their staffs, not on party's political woes, helping to allow a crucial cool-down period for the embattled president." Quote, "We're all just expressing condolences, keeping our team safe." A senior House Democrat suggested that the atmosphere in the party is too chaotic for internal battles over leadership. Obviously, they talk about the Biden campaign, having these reach out sessions that happened over the weekend. Biden apparently met with Senator Chuck Schumer to shore up some of his support. You saw also that even that individual who I described, Jason Crow, he appeared on television on Sunday, and he was even asked about some of the eroding support. And he says, "Look, it's a tough business. There's a lot at stake. Emotions can run high. I think the president heard our message very clearly. And in fact, he promised to come back with more useful information to address our concerns and to answer all of our questions." So look, you can keep all of that in mind. But I mean, the most significant one to me is how Biden is responding to this, which is he's done very short messages. Now, as I said earlier, I didn't want to get too much into it, but in the span of 6 minutes, he said some crazy stuff just in that 6-minute Oval Office address. He said battle box instead of ballot box. He mixed up his words, stumbled over multiple times. These are short. These are basically off of a teleprompter. I mean, this is as layup get, right? As easy. There's no crowd. There's no, mitigating circumstances. You're looking straight at a camera the way I am right now, except he has a teleprompter in front of him. Now, as you guys can see from me doing monologues, that's probably the easiest thing to do whenever you are literally reading off of something and it's directly in your line of sight. You don't have anything that is distracting you. We do it here all the time. And that's why it's so shocking that even in that, he finds it so difficult actually to continue. And this is a person who's been doing this now for decades. So it's not like you can even use the excuse that he's new to it or anything like that. We also know that this whole allay our concerns, wait it out strategy, that's a winning strategy for Biden. Remember, next week after the RNC, that's when the virtual roll call is apparently scheduled to happen, and Biden will be nominated basically officially on the DNC before you even get to the convention. So all you have to do is wait it out and survive a week. What's happening this week? The RNC, which we're about to get to, which means that this wait and see strategy by Biden is basically just the winning one, at least for now, because what it means is that all he has to do is just call for unity, use the attempted assassination for his own political survival, and then House Democrats feel awkward calling for it, or basically he's appearing presidential, right now, and they're not really allowed to talk about a few of these things. And in the midst of all of that, what does it mean? It means all he's got to do is make it to that virtual nomination, and then boom, he's the nominee. There's not even a talk here about him dropping out or anything, and he is headed to a disastrous defeat in November. So that is the current Biden political fortune. We'll bring you some more news about that tomorrow if anything breaks. But it is pretty stunning that this event basically, not only did Trump was literally saved, but it appears to have saved the political fortunes of Joe Biden, at least for now. None of the calls that immediately happened in the aftermath of his big boy press conference. You guys remember that on Thursday? All of that appears to have fizzled out now, and none of the attention is being focused on him, and he's using it very much to his advantage. I will say on the campaign front, they've paused all their political advertising. They're not attacking Trump right now on the airwaves. Everybody's calling for unity. We'll see how exactly they're going to adjust. We do know that some of their fundraising had taken a massive hit. Some $90 million or something in super PAC dollars were frozen from the Biden campaign, even though he was bragging about all the money at his disposal. So he could have a very, very difficult time now going into this, not to mention the political dynamics of having your opponent literally survive an assassination attempt, get bloodied, and put his fist in the air in probably one of the most iconic photos of all time. So it's going to be a tough road, I think, there for Mr. Biden going ahead. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.